Hi friends, welcome back. In previous session we have performed CRUD operations with Razor Pages by using scaffolding mechanism. In today's session we are going to perform CRUD operations without using any scaffolding. We are going to use the Entity Framework Core and we are going to use the .NET 8.0 for this session. So this is my previous example. If you are new to my channel, please watch this video before continuing with this session. Here I am going to use Visual Studio 2022 for this session. I am going to create a new project here. Here I am going to search for ASP.NET template. Here we can select ASP.NET Core Web Application with Razor Pages. Click on Next. Here I am going to provide project name. So this is my project name and I am going to store in my C drive. This is the folder. So I am going to store in this location. Here you can change solution name if you want to make it as different name. So otherwise you can leave it as it is. By default the solution name will take it from the project name. Whatever the project name you are providing, same name will be provided for the solution name also. So I am leaving as it is. I will click on next. Here I am going to use latest .NET framework. In previous session we have used the 7.0. Here we are going to use .NET 8 which is latest. I am going to configure HTTPS. If you want to use HTTP, you can remove this checkbox. So I am going to use HTTPS here. Click on create. First to start with, so we are going to create models. So I will right click on this project, add new folder. I will name it as models. All DB entities will be stored inside this models. So inside this model I am going to create one class. I will name it as product for this class, add it. Here we have to define the properties. I will name it as ID. This is going to be primary key. Whenever we are defining property as ID, automatically Entity Framework will treat this as a primary key. Next I need another property which is going to be my product name. This is going to be string. For display purpose I am going to change this as, I will change the display name. So while displaying in the view I want to make it as product name, and also this is going to be mandatory field. So we have to decorate with required attribute here. Then I am going to create another property with double. And the property name I am going to make it as price. This is also mandatory. So I will make it as required. I am going to create another property for quantity. So we need all these properties inside our table. We are going to use the Entity Framework Core and we are going to use the core first approach here. For that we need to install required packages. Right click on the solution, go to the manage NuGet packages. Here go to browse, search for Entity Framework Core. So I am going to use Entity Framework Core here, install it, apply. So here we have to accept the license terms. So it has been added. Then we need another property called entity framework core.sql server. For the database, we are going to use the SQL Server. I'll install it. Also, we need tools here. Whenever we are using entity framework core code first approach, we need to install this package. For the data migration, click on install. Apply. So all required packages has been installed, and also we need bootstrap. Here we can install latest bootstrap. I'm selecting latest bootstrap, which is 5.3.2. I'll install it. So it's installed. I can close this window now. Now I'm going to create here another folder called data access layer. Here we are going to create our AppDB context to communicate between our application and the database. Right click, add class. So here I'll name it as my AppDB context. So you can give any meaningful name here. So this AppDB context will be inherited from the DB context. So here we have to add the required namespace, that is entity framework core. Now here we have to create a constructor. Here we need to pass DB context options. We'll make it as options, and it will be inherited from the base class of options. Now here we need to add our product class. So this AppDB context will act as a mediator between our entity framework and the SQL Server. Here I am going to create one property. So this is going to be virtual, and here I am going to call our table DB set of product. I will make it as products. So this is our table which we are going to migrate to SQL Server. Now to migrate to SQL Server, we need connection string. So we are going to configure inside app settings.json. We will open app settings.json, and here we are going to create connection string. Here I'll give the connection string name as default connection. You can give any meaningful name here, and here we have to provide the server name. Then we have to give the database name. Then we have to give the integrated security true. If you are using Windows authentication, then you have to use the integrated security as true. Then we have to use trust server certificate equal to true. So whenever we are using HTTPS, we need to pass this, and here we have to provide the server name. I'll open my SQL Server. I'm going to use SQL Server here. So this is my SQL instance name. So I'll make it this SQL Express. This is my SQL instance name. If you have multiple SQL instances, then you have to pass this, otherwise you can put it like this. If you have single SQL instance, then you can use this dot. Since I have multiple SQL instances, I am going to use like this, and here we have to provide the database name. So we are going to create DB now. So I will make it DB as same name which is given for the project. So then integrated security will be true. Then trust server certificate is true. So now we can migrate our tables to the SQL Server. So currently we don't have any DB called CRUD with Razor, so we are going to create now. Now we have to add the dependency injection for this connection string. Go to the program.cs class, and before builder.build we have to add the dependency injection. Here I am going to add builder.services.add db context. So here we have to pass the db context name. So here we can get our db context. So we have to pass this. Here we have to pass the options. Options dot use SQL Server, because we are going to use the SQL Server database, and here we can pass the connection string builder dot configuration dot get connection string. Here we have to pass our connection string name, which is added inside app settings.json. So this is our connection string name. We have to pass it here. Now we can migrate this product model to our SQL Server. Go to the package manager console. Here I am going to add migration. So I will name it as initial migration. Enter. So build succeeded, it created all the migrations. Here you can see create table, which is a script to migrate. Table name is products. So all the columns are added here. Now we can migrate to the SQL Server. For that, update database, so that it will push this script to our SQL Server database. So here I don't have access for Windows authentication. Now I need to change the connection string. I will duplicate this. I will comment. Here I am going to use username and password for SQL Server authentication. Here I will remove the integrated security. I will make it as user ID. This is my user ID, and password I will give it as password here. So this is the SQL Server account I am providing here. So we have to give user ID and password like this. Now I will save it. Go to the package manager console again. Now I am going to update the database. If you don't have enough permission to create the database, then you will get this type of error. To avoid that, we need to provide enough rights to create database. To avoid these errors, you can log in as an administrator or SA SQL Server account, and you can enable the required permissions. So now I am updating the database here. So now we changed user ID password for this account. So now it's successfully updated. So we will go to the SQL Server now. We will refresh these databases. Earlier we had 4 DBs, and we are going to create DB as CRUD with Razor. We will refresh and we'll see. So our DB has been created here. Expand this tables. So you can see the table here. So product has been created. You can see the columns. So now we are going to create Razor pages to perform the CRUD operations. Expand the pages folder. Inside this, we are going to create one folder to store all our product related pages. Here I will make it as product. All product related pages will be stored inside this product folder. Right click on the product again. We will create a new page here. Click on Razor page. Here we are going to select the Razor page empty. In previous session we have created Razor page with scaffolding mechanism where we have not written any code here. We are going to write everything manually. Click on add. So I will name it as index. First we will create index page here. So if you expand the product folder, here we have two files. One is CS.html, which is used to design the page, and index.cs.html.cs page. This is our class page where we can write all the logics. Here we will not be having any control. So everything will be written inside this CS file. First we will get the data from the database, then we can design our page accordingly. To get the data from the product table, we need to initialize the appdb context. By using appdb context only, we are going to communicate with the database. For that, we will initialize appdb context inside our index model. So this is my appdb context. Here I am going to add this into my constructor. So now I can access product class by using the appdb context. Here I will create a property. Here I am going to make it as list of products. Here we are going to use the async method to get the data. I will change it as async. So here we have to make it as task. So here instead of get, on get async. So we are making as asynchronous method here. If context products are not null, then we have to get the list of products from the product table. So we are going to assign to this list. So here we have to add the missing namespace. Await context dot products to list async. So we are going to get the list of products here. We will build the application. So here we have one error. Product is namespace, but it is used like a type. Here we are getting one error. So this is the error. Product is a namespace, but is used like a type. Here we have created folder as product, so that's why there is a conflict. We will make it as products. So I'll name it as products here so that we can avoid this. So I have added the missing namespace, and here also we can make it as products. So now we don't have any error. I will build the application once again. So we don't have any error. So now we can get the list of products from the product table. Now we will go to the index page and we will design our page here. So here we can add view data first. So here we are going to add the page title. This is our index page. I will make it as product list. This is my page title. Here I am going to make it h3. So I am going to call same name here. to display inside my index view. I will use the horizontal row here. I am creating one paragraph here. Here we will create one anchor tag to create a new product. So, we will create like a button by using anchor tag. So, here I am going to define the route. It is going to call create, and I am going to use the class btn primary. I am going to give this CSS class for this anchor tag. Here I will give the label as create. Whenever user clicks on this create anchor tag, it should redirect to the create page where user can create the new product. Then I will define one table here. So, inside the table we are going to display all our products. Here I will make it as class table. These are all bootstrap styles I am adding to my table. So, inside this table we will define table header. Inside table header we will get table row, we will get the headers for each column. So, inside this header we have to display the each column headers. So, for that we are going to use display name for. So, here by using the model we can define the column names. Here we will get the products, so which will be having product name. So, I can define product ID first, then I can make it duplicate of this header, and then I can make it as product name, then price, quantity. So, I am going to take the column names here. In the last column we are going to display the action as a label, and inside this we are going to display the buttons to edit and delete. After this table header we will display the table body where we are going to bind the products. So, before binding the data we have to validate the model. If model is not null and model is having any records, model will be having products, right, any. So, then only we are going to bind the data here, else. So, we are going to display as products not available. So, here we will write table row inside this table data. So, here I can display the product details. So, display for So, before this we need to use for each loop, because we will get multiple products here. For that I am going to use for each. Here we will get model of products. So, inside this we will be having product. So, inside this for each loop I can create table row and table data. Here I will display the product ID first, display for. So, this item we will get it from the product. So, we have to call it product dot ID first. So, I can copy this table data then product name, then price, quantity, so finally we need action buttons here which will be displayed in the last column. I'll use Asp page. Here we have to define the route. So we have not yet created edit page, so we are going to create as edit. So route ID we have to provide here. So here we can give any name. I'll make it as ID. This will be item.id. Product ID we have to pass here. This is going to be product.id. Then we can give the bootstrap classes here. This is going to be edit, and I'll duplicate this. Then we can make it as details, and we need ID for that also. Details, here I'll change the style. So finally we will make it as delete. So our action buttons added in the last column. Whenever we don't have any products, we need to display the details to user. For that I'll create one row here inside this one table data. So here I'll use the call span. Here we have 5 columns. So I'll use the call span of 5. And I'll use the class text center. So this is the message which I'm going to display to the user. We will build the application. Run the application now. So this is our default page, home page. So here we will add one nav item to our home page. Go to the pages, shade. Here go to the layout. Inside this you can go to the last nav item. I'll copy this nav item, paste it here. Here we are going to define the route as products/index. So I'll reload this page now. So I'll enable the hot reload here. So now this nav item is added to the home page. Click on products. So currently we don't have any products. As expected, we are getting this message here. Now we will try to add product, and also these styles are not applied to this create button. We will check that. Go to the home page, index, This is ASP page. Here we have done wrong. Class is btn primary. We will enable the hot reload on file save. We can check now. Now we can see styles are applied correctly. So now we will try to add one product from the backend, since we have not yet created page for the product addition. So we will add it from the backend and we will test the index page. I will go to the database, expand this, tables, edit top 200 rows. So here I'll add Samsung. Now we will reload this page again. So now we are able to read the data from the database as we expected, and the action buttons are showing here. Now we will try to add another product. We will reload the page, so it is displaying as expected. Like this we can read the data from the database in Razor page. Next session we will create another page for the product creation, and we will perform the insert operation to the database. That's it for today. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.